Hare Krishna. Welcome to a brand new episode of Frankly Speaking. Today we have a very distinguished, special personality, devotee, Vice Chairman of Akshaya Patra Foundation, Vice Chairman of Vrindavan Chandrojaya Mandir, the world's tallest temple upcoming, Senior Vice President, ISKCON Bangalore, His Grace Chanchalapathi Prabhu. Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
We are happy and delighted to have you once again in Frankly Speaking.
So am I.
So in this podcast, we would love to have your experiences, nuances, challenges of running one of the world's largest midday meal program in the world, the Akshaya Patra Foundation. Today, it's catering to more than 2.2 million underprivileged kids in the country. How did it actually start? What was the basis of such a wonderful program being started from a temple? What was the inspiration from Prabhupada to do so? Can you share a few insights about that, Prabhu?
Certainly. You know, the Bangalore temple, as we see it today, was inaugurated in the year 1997 by the then Rashtrapati of the country, Dr. Shankar Dayal Sharma. So we had a grand temple. Gradually, more and more people started visiting. So it was in the year 1999 approximately. A certain idea was given to us. We are serving Khichdi Prasadam to the people who come to the temple.
The famous Khichdi Prasadam.
Our famous Khichdi Prasadam of ISKCON. And so why can't we do a program to feed children in government schools where it is a lot more needed? So this was a kind of an idea. And then we thought we had a festival kitchen which was used maybe 10 days in a year. So it was idling otherwise. So we thought, let's cook in that kitchen, carry food to the school children and serve. In fact, in the year 1999-2000, we did a pilot. So 2000 is when we started the program. We went to 5 schools and we told the headmaster, headmistress that we want to feed your children. And they said, yes, please do. They thought, we will come one day and feed and go away. We said, no, we want to come every day. They said, you want to come every day? They were used to sometimes a Rotary Club, someone comes and gives some laddu, some special things to the children one day and go away. But we said, no, we want to come every day. So they were very pleasantly surprised and they welcomed us. And we started doing this. After about 2 or 3 weeks, we went and asked them, how are things going on? We wanted to get some feedback.
You did this voluntarily to get the feedback?
Yeah, we did this voluntarily.
You're giving food and you want to get the feedback.
Yeah, we wanted to know what's happening to our program. How is it being received? Is it relevant? Is it appreciated? Or some changes needed? We wanted to know, because we were doing this for the first time. And the headmistresses and headmasters told us 3 things. This was July of 2000, beginning of the academic year. School starts in June. They said, the news has spread in the village and many children who are enrolled but are not coming up, they have all started showing up. Now the attendance has increased a lot. Maybe by 20%, 25%, some kind of it. The second thing they said was, the children have become very enthusiastic and energetic in the classroom and outside the classroom, And this has inspired our teachers also to teach better. And the third thing was that more children are now getting enrolled so that, they get a meal. So hearing these kind of things, we were encouraged that it is making a significant difference to the children. So we should continue to do this. And so we continued doing that. Then, in the next few months, I would think, many letters we started receiving, written by headmasters of other schools, telling us, we see your vehicle carrying food in front of our school. Can you please stop and feed in our school also? And we were doing in about 3 or 4 or 5 schools to begin with. And we had no idea that we were going to expand this program. So we got these kind of letters, we put them into a file, then kept it away. And now and then we would get these letters, keep filing them. After maybe 6 months or so, we had this many letters. And we counted one day how many requests for how many children are there. We found that there were requests for as many as 30,000 children. We were feeding 1,500 children. And it was at that time an eye-opener for us. Because, we think that in a city like Bangalore, very prosperous city, there is no need of food for children. Even for us as Indians, it was an eye-opener for us. There is so much need for food in these families. And so we thought we should do something
So
more.
how did you cater the need of 30,000? You had a pilot run of 5 schools, then 30,000, now 2.2. How did it actually happen?
Okay. I'll tell you one more story before that.
Please.
When this idea came that we must feed, we were thinking, because all along as a temple, we were used to worship of the Lord, have festivals, have Gita Pravachan. These were the things that we were doing, not feeding children in a school. So at that time, when we were thinking among ourselves, some of the devotees in the temple, should we do this? At that time, we came across that anecdote in the life of Srila Prabhupada. It was in the 70s. Prabhupada had inaugurated a temple in Mayapur, about 110 kilometers from Calcutta. And a big feast was served on the day of the installation of the deities of the temple. A lot of guests had come from Calcutta. A big feast was served in the afternoon. And after the feast and the festival, Prabhupada was sitting in his quarters, and suddenly he heard outside the window dogs barking and children crying. So Prabhupada came out of his room and went to the corridor, and he saw, and he was shocked to see there were banana leaf plates where the food was served. It was all strewn across. And there were poor village children shooing away stray dogs to gather some food. And when Prabhupada saw that, he was a very compassionate person. He felt for the pain of others. When Prabhupada saw that, there were tears in his eyes. He called the leaders of ISKCON at that time. And he said, just see, today we have installed Krishna in the temple. Krishna is the father of everyone. Where there is father, children should not go hungry. And so it is your responsibility to see that no child in a 10-mile radius of an ISKCON temple should be hungry. So Prabhupada had given that kind of a direction. And so we were thinking that, Prabhupada had said this, we must do something.
So you got a shot in the arm to continue further.
Right. We, became more inspired. that Prabhupada had said. So we initiated the program. Next, like you asked the question, how did we think of going from 1,500 to 30,000 requests were there? Again, first thing we did was, we did some search in Srila Prabhupada's instructions. What does Srila Prabhupada say?
So you consult the spiritual master Srila Prabhupada for any action you have to do.
Yeah, this is Prabhupada's institution. We have to do everything according to his wishes and his plan and his vision and his aspiration. We can't do our own thing. So we had developed, this is 2000, I'm telling you. So by then we had developed this extra sensitivity that anything we do, we have to consult what Srila Prabhupada has said. And we were surprised to find Prabhupada writing so many occasions in letters, in conversations, that how a temple means we must distribute food. And Prabhupada said, in Bombay, when the temple was being built, there were labor and then labor children. And Prabhupada said that all these children, let them come, we will feed them. Let us give them good clothes. Like that Prabhupada had spoken. So we found many references of Srila Prabhupada encouraging food distribution through temples. So then we said we will do more. And then how to do? We are only equipped with feeding 1,500 people. How to do 30,000? So there was one temple in Karnataka which was known for serving 30,000, 40,000, 50,000 meals. Dharmasthala temple near Mangalore. So we decided to visit them. So Madhu Pandit Prabhu, myself and a few devotees, we visited them. And the head person of that is Sri Virendra Hegde. He's known as the Dharmadhikari of the temple. Very respectfully, very nicely he received us. And he made an arrangement for us to have a tour of the kitchen facility. And we saw steam cooking, big cauldrons, cooking rice at very high speed, bigger cauldrons for making sambar, all these things. We figured out how they serve. So we learned all these things. It was almost a day-long visit. And we told them that we are doing this because we are attempting to do this. At the end of our visit, just before we were coming away, before parting, one of the senior persons in that temple establishment, they told us, it looks like it is exciting to feed, but be careful. It will require a lot of money. And once you start, you cannot stop. People's expectation will be there. So before you start, I think you should think a little bit carefully. So he sort of warned, well-meaning. It's a right thing. He was seeing that we were trying to do something big and what will happen. A well-meaning warning. And we appreciated this. We said, thank you. And then we came away to the temple. Again, we consulted Srila Prabhupada's, what he is saying
regarding
about
the finances.
About finances, about feeding program, doing on a big scale. There is one letter of Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada said, if you are feeding, just don't worry. Radharani will send the money.
She is the mother.
She is the mother and she is Lakshmi, and there won't be any shortage for feeding children from a temple.
And that's happened to be quite truth.
Oh, so much. And so we got a certain kind of a confidence that Radharani will send the money. Let's try. Let us jump into it. And Madhu Pandit Prabhu, because he had a civil engineering background from IIT Bombay, and he was himself involved in building the temple. So he got into the detailed design of the kitchen. Our case, unlike the temple that we had visited, we not only have to cook, we have to transport it to the school and serve the food there and bring back the vessels and clean it up and keep it ready for the next day. So a lot more operation steps are involved than back in that temple we saw. So anyway, so we designed the right kind of a vessel and how to do it quickly. We had conveyor belts. We had custom-made vehicles to carry these racks, stainless steel racks. All of these things came at that time.
All the state-of-art infrastructure.
Yeah.
For the service of the Lord.
Yeah, for the service of the Lord, for the service of children. And so it was all ready by 2001, October or so. We were ready and we started serving 30,000 children every day. And we had an important ceremony. The chief minister of the state had come from Delhi, MHRD, Minister for Human Resource Development. Those days it was called MHR. Today it's called Minister for Education. So the minister had come and we had a grand inauguration of the program and started the program. That's how it was, the initial days.
Then when you moved into the other parts of the country, like you moved to Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, the food choices were different. They were by and large wheat-based. So how did you cater the needs of the children there?
Yeah. Actually, I must tell you one more story. We had no idea that we are going to go to another state. We were thinking, Bangalore, we are doing 30,000.
We're happy with that.
Maybe 2-3 years, we will slightly, that's all. Then there was one devotee in the Hubli temple. And they were having Hubli Rath Yatra. And he made during Rath Yatra, some media people will come. So he made a statement that we are going to start feeding in Hubli. And immediately it came in the newspapers.
How, sorry to say, dare that he can make such statements. What was...
Exactly. I called him up the next day after I read in the newspaper. I said, wow, who told you you're going to start? Why did you make that announcement? He said, sorry, Prabhu, somehow I made some
revelation, self-revelation.
He made and he said, I'm sorry, Prabhu. And I said, hey, don't think of all these things. I kept the phone down. I think 1 or 2 days later, I got a call from the general telephone line. And they connected to my office. And they said, Sudha Murthy wants to talk to you. Then I got, my God, Sudha Murthy. We have heard about her, wife of Mr. Narayan Murthy, and she's going to talk to me. And so I said, yes, madam. I just, courteously I start speaking. And then she said, I heard that in the newspapers I read that you are planning to feed in Hubli. Is that so? And if it is so, I want to support that.
Oh my goodness.
So I said, no, madam, we have no clear plans about Hubli. Can you please support us in Bangalore? We need funds here. We are feeding 30,000 children. She said, no, Bangalore, I won't feed. I won't support. Bangalore, there are so many people who can support. In Hubli, if you are doing, I will support. I said, okay, madam, thank you for this offer. We'll come back to you. And she said, she gave the phone number. She said, please call me, keep me informed. And then I went and discussed this with Madhu Pandit Prabhu. Now you see what to do. We don't want to do, but now this has come. And how can we say no to Sudha Murthy? She's an important person in the city. And so we started exploring. Can we start feeding? Another interesting thing happened in Hubli. You see, all very serendipitously, by Lord's arrangement, things began to unfold. There was a train station in Hubli. And they had opened a restaurant, Kamath restaurant. But the gate for the station was on this side. So people were coming there, going to the train, come out of the train station, go away.
The hotel was not getting the customers.
Nobody was coming to the restaurant. So this man was, what to do? We invested so much money and nobody is coming. So we went and spoke to him. Can you please allow us to use your kitchen? We will serve from here. He took a few days at a time and then he said, okay, come. Anyway, we have invested and nothing is happening. You come and cook. So we got a kitchen and we said we won't pay any rent. And he said, no problem, use for 2-3 years or something. We made some agreement. And we got the kitchen and we started feeding maybe, I can't remember, 1,000 children, 2,000.
At that point of time, did Sudhamati was involved in it?
Immediately we told her, Madam, we want to do, can you feed? She offered the support. She was very happy. I think if I remember right, she came and visited the kitchen and she was there for serving the children. So this is how from Bangalore, the second kitchen came up in Hubli. And next our thought was, okay, anyway, we have started expanding from 1 to 2. Next most desirable place for us is, can we go and feed in Vrindavan?
Vrindavan is very special.
Very special for all of us.
Srimati Radharani, she's inspiring us.
Krishna's place. So we had some land there. And so we thought, let us go, and we made a similar attempt. And we were feeding. We started feeding in Vrindavan, all 500 children like that. At that time, there was some well-wishers and supporters of us. They arranged an invitation from the Chief Minister of Rajasthan. So some of us went and made a presentation to her. This is what we are doing. You know, at that time, we had no idea about feeding and all that. So I got some books. There was one United Nations World Food Program. It was a big fat book, like a coffee table book. And I studied and I read over a few months. And then I picked up all these, the issue of hunger, how hunger is debilitating, education, what's happening in different parts of the world, what's happening in our country, India. All this data I gathered and I put them all into one presentation and I would show that to people. And so I brought that presentation and showed that to the Chief Minister of Rajasthan.
Vasundhara Raje.
Vasundhara Raje, Srimati Vasundhara Raje. And she was very pleased. In fact, she visited Bangalore and she saw the temple, she saw the kitchen, she saw the feeding program. And then she called us. Actually, first she visited the temple in Bangalore. Then she called. And then here she called many other ministers and other bureaucrats and told us to make a presentation. We made the presentation. And she said that we should do something like this in Jaipur. Can we support them? And all the ministers and bureaucrats, yes, madam, we will do. And right there, at the end of the presentation, they took us to one place and they said that this is one training center and a government training center for some officers. It's not being used. We can give this place.
Jalana Dongri near to
Yes, exactly. So we set up the kitchen. And at that time, you know, one of the things that we used to follow in Akshaya Patra, after we get an offer from a government, from a donor, at the highest speed, we should set up. Because usually in our country, NGOs are known to be slow. Slowly, they will do in their own. But we wanted to show a certain kind of a passion, eagerness, professionalism. And in about 3 months, we went back to the Chief Minister and said, our kitchen is ready, madam. Can you come and see? We are going to start. 3 months, already kitchen is ready. So she was extremely thrilled, very happy, and she encouraged. And then we said, this is a temporary kitchen. We want to set up a permanent kitchen. Then she said, no, like I saw in Bangalore, there should be kitchen, there should be temple also. So this was her clear direction. So then we said, madam, Bangalore, it is about 6 acres. You must give us 6 acres. So then she put her officers, they looked around, and they were very, very supportive people that time. And they showed us in a very, very important location. But it was a little far away from the city. But then people advised us, don't worry, city is growing in that direction, accept it. So we accepted. And then today we have a kitchen that feeds 1 lakh plus children. And we also have a temple that's coming up.
My question was the challenge of the palate of the children's.
Very important question. So when in Vrindavan, the number was small. In Jaipur, we started doing a bigger number. Maybe
because with the government, we are starting.
There was going to support from the government, all these things. So we were, I think, probably doing 20 or 25,000 children. and we had to provide roti
From the beginning itself.
from the beginning.
Okay. Because
Okay.
of the.
Yeah, even from the very beginning, we had from the training center. So even if it was, I can't remember the numbers, maybe let's say 5,000 we were feeding, 2 rotis per child,
10,000 rotis.
10,000 rotis every day. Not easy. And we learned that in Jaipur, they don't eat rice at all.
Never. Lightly.
They eat rice only on festival days.
Festivals.
You know, these are all things that we began to hear and understand. So we had a rented vehicle, and we would bring the women from their homes early morning, and we would insist that you have to come fresh, bathed, fresh clothes from hygiene point of view. And in fact, they were all very pious women. They would come well dressed, well fresh clothes, and they would make. And we had men and women. Men would roll the rotis, and women would roll the rotis. Men would do the frying, because it's about the fire and a big tawa and all that. And when summer came, it was not easy to make so many rotis. And for men, they would wear some kind of a gloves because it was very hot. And women in that place, it was a harrowing experience. We knew we had to do something else for this. Then our devotees started looking around. Is there a roti making machine? The biggest roti making machine we came across was in some army canteen. And that was about making 500 rotis per hour or something. That won't serve our purpose. We need much bigger. And so we went to some manufacturers in Ludhiana, in Punjab. We found one manufacturer. He had a papad making machine. So he was able to make some 2,000 papads or something per hour or something. And papad is just stamping and then it comes out, and then you dry it in the sun. Ours is roti, then it has to be cooked on both sides. So that man in the Ludhiana factory, maker of this papad making machine, he was very enterprising. And our devotees worked with him closely. It took about probably 6 months. And engineers, devotees who had that kind of an engineering mind. We have one devotee. We call him Edison. So he's like a very inventive mind. He's always inventing new things like that.
Prahaladesha Prabhu?
Prahaladesha Prabhu, yes. So he worked. Suvyakta Prabhu worked. And Ratnangada Prabhu worked. All of them worked on it. And they made a machine which could make, to begin with, I think 2,000 rotis per hour. And later on, they expanded on it to make a 30,000 rotis per hour. Massive machine. It's about 30, 40 feet long. And it has a hopper. And it has got series of rollers and conveyor belts with heating. And then the roti falls onto the second side and again gets heated. And then a third conveyor, then it's like a fulka. It puffs up, it comes in contact with fire, and it puffs up like a fulka. And then there's an oil sprinkler at the other end, and it comes out hot roti with oil sprinkled.
Wow.
It was, and we still have that one. We made that first machine with a lot of troubleshooting. It would break down. We had 2 machines, because if one breaks down, we have a second machine. So like that, we did all these kind of redundancy planning. And so we had these kind of machines, and we could do this in all of North India, wherever roti was required. And then we came to Gujarat too. And then
2007 we came.
2007. And that's how we started. And like this, we kept expanding.
Today we have more than 60 odd kitchens.
We have 72 kitchens.
72 kitchens right now.
And all over the country. And we have another 15 or 16 kitchens in the pipeline coming up. So in the next 2 years, we will have another 15, 16 kitchens added to the 72.
So recently you had the celebration of the billionth meal in the prestigious United Nations. Tell me something about that event. And I heard that Prabhupada wanted to have such programs in the United Nations, which we mean, should be
Yeah.
fortunate that privileged that we could fulfill the desire of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah. The school meal program is a strategic intervention program that feeds children in schools to address classroom hunger and nutritional requirements of children. These children come from the most vulnerable families, and the meal is an incentive to bring them to school and keep them in school. Once these children are well fed, nourished, and educated, they will escape from the cycle of poverty. There is one, yes, that's true. So we were keeping account of the cumulative number of meals we have been serving. It started in the year 2000 in Bangalore, and now it is 2024, 24 years. At some point, we had served 1 billion meals. And when we served the billionth meal, we invited Mr. Narayan Murthy to come and serve the 1 billionth meal. When we served the 2nd billionth meal, we invited Sri Pranab Mukherjee, Rashtrapati at that time. He came and served in Bangalore. When we served the 3rd billionth meal, we invited Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji. He came to Vrindavan and he served the 3rd billionth meal. So we were thinking, Narayan Murthy, corporate giant, Rashtrapati, Pradhan Mantri, for the 4th billionth meal, where shall we go? It should be bigger and better. It should be bigger and better. So then it was at that time the idea came that maybe we should do it in the United Nations. And so that's how the idea came. And we had a very wonderful celebration. The Indian mission in the United Nations fully supported us. And with their support, we had this very wonderful event.
Generally, the leaders of the government would invite us. But at a lower level, when we work with the municipal corporations, there are a lot of challenges to deal with that. Licensing, compliances, any such instance where we overcome those challenges and had a good rapport and relationship with the municipal corporation for a betterment of the children we worked out. These some anecdotes or stories connected with such experiences.
Yes, it is a fact.
Because when we start off, there will be already some program run by the government there. Then there will be agitation from the set of people who are doing that, the self-help groups. I think.
Yeah, all these kind of issues we used to have. And but we had a plan and a strategy where if there are some women who are already involved in midday meal, none of them will be displaced. We would invite them and tell them that we will give them your jobs. And the salary we will give is many, many times more than what they were getting. Second alternative, we said that you can continue to give the food. When the food comes from Akshaya Patra to the school, you can serve the food to the children. So you can be involved in it and we will still pay you. And whatever you are getting, you will still continue to get. And maybe we will add a little bit more top that also. So all these kind of things were there. But still, there were occasions where some of the public leaders, I will say, would create a lot of trouble for us. There was one kitchen in, better I don't say where it is, in some part of the country. Our kitchen was ready. We were about to inaugurate. We had all the permissions. We had all the licenses to operate the kitchen. But the local leader called us one day. He called us to his home on a Sunday. We were thinking, why is he calling us on a Sunday to his home? We went to his house and he said, you see, you want to feed in all these places. I make 5 lakh rupees per month from this program. What are you going to give us? So we told him, sir, we will feed all your children in your constituency and their mothers and fathers will hear and you only come and inaugurate. We will take you to the schools. All those children's parents will vote for you. That you should be happy with that. And after all, it is feeding children. So we cannot give any other kind of benefit to you. This benefit we can give you. He was not happy with this benefit. So the chief minister wanted us to come. But the local leader was creating trouble. And how he would do? Through the workers, And the workers would do an agitation in front of the kitchen. They would hold boards. The first vehicle comes out of the kitchen, we will set the kitchen on fire. This kind of thing, that it's appearing in the newspapers, all these things. And Akshaya Patra wants to do this, and we don't let, there is agitation going on. Then we went to the chief minister. The chief minister also said, this is a little difficult situation because the local leader is an important man. You just wait for 6 months. Elections are coming. And let us see what happens. So we waited almost for 1 year that after the kitchen was ready. We could not inaugurate the kitchen. We could not serve a meal to child. We had to wait. And then the election came. And the election results came. And this particular local leader lost the election. He was out. And the same chief minister got re-elected. And now he said, come, we will start. And I'll come and inaugurate. And then, so like this, there have been instances where sometimes we have had these kind of challenges, difficulties. But I think that's, our country is a big country. If you have to work with the government, there are complexities. We have to learn how to navigate. We didn't know. We learned how to navigate through all these kind of difficult situations, working with the government and the leaders.
The other camp, they accuse that this is not what Prabhupada wanted. It's a charitable institution, charitable activity. Swami Prabhupada never encouraged such philanthropic activities. Why are you doing such philanthropic activities? Additionally, from giving food, you are actually encouraging material education, which Swami Prabhupada in that sense was not supportive. What's your take on that, or a response to such allegation from the other side?
You see, as I told you in the beginning, we went through some of the quotes of Srila Prabhupada on different occasions about feeding, about children, about feeding children, poor children, especially in our country. There are at least about 20 quotes of Prabhupada. Somebody who's making that accusation, they have not read carefully. If somebody comes up with that, I'm happy to share all those quotes.
Anyways, they don't accept even Swami Prabhupada.
In a sense, isn't it? So for us, Prabhupada's words were very important. We took his words, read them, gathered them, and that was an important, to give us that confidence that we are doing the right thing that Srila Prabhupada wants. And so we were very careful about these things. We were not reckless. So I think they should just read Prabhupada's instructions on feeding.
Another accusation from within the organization is, at times a few of the devotees feel that instead of focusing on Akshaya Patra, because we focused too much on Akshaya Patra, the Akshaya Patra grew exponentially to a very big extent. On the contrary, if you would have focused on the fundamental, pure Krishna conscious preaching, our preaching activities would have expanded. So what would you say to such people or devotees who come up with some thoughts like that?
No, you see, we expanded Akshaya Patra very rapidly to many, many places. I would say all of these kitchens, Akshaya Patra kitchens, the day-to-day operations were being managed by the missionaries, devotees, full-time missionaries, brahmacharis, and devotees of the temple. And so they naturally needed a temple. And so connected with the kitchen, temples came up. So I would think that, all these kitchens actually led to the creation of so many temples. So I don't think that, it in any way retarded the development and establishment of temples. In fact, all the expansions that we have done are connected with a kitchen and a temple associated with that, and devotees overseeing that. Of course, later on, in a few years, devotees got more opportunity. They could go and open a few more kitchens. And so many congregation devotees we had created, they went and started running those. So I think the Hare Krishna movement expansion and the Akshaya Patra expansion has been happening hand in hand.
Parallel, it's been
Parallel. And I think someone can't see what can be.
Unlimited food for education, probably one of the delicious meal a kid would have in India today in the schools, supplied by Akshaya Patra Foundation. Any success stories from those programs since last 2 decades you've been feeling? Any stories which you can share with us?
There are many, anecdotes to prove the impact. Of course, we do not only have anecdotes, we have analytical data also, because a lot of institutions, business schools have done case study on Akshaya Patra. They went to the field and did survey. There are third-party independent surveys have been done, and all of this is documented. And I can tell you one story of a girl in Bangalore. She narrated her story. Her mother she sells vegetables from a basket, very, very simple. And father not there. And then she got meal and she started coming to the school. The mother told her, if you're getting a meal, you can be in the school. At least you'll get a meal. And so she got educated, and she later became a chartered accountant or something like that. And so, very well placed. There's yet another story of another boy. There's a story of another boy. His father moved from a village to Bangalore city. And the first time, migration coming from a village. And so when these men come from village, what do? He became a security guard. Nothing more. He has no other skill for the city to employ him. He can just wear a dress and stand as in a uniform. So his son was there in school. And then the father told the son, you see, I cannot afford. You have to drop out of the school and do some work. And then the boy was interested in education, in studies. So he went back to the father and said, Father, we are getting a good meal. So one meal you don't have to worry about for me. So the father thought about it and he said, okay, if you're getting one meal, continue. And he did his education. And at that time, we also have one program. If students do well in Akshaya Patra schools, government schools where we are feeding, we also give them a scholarship. So he finished his 10th standard and we gave him a scholarship. He did his PUC. Again, he came back to us and he had done well. He got an admission in an engineering college. We gave him another scholarship for 4 years. And then he came and informed us he had got an offer letter from HCL Computers.
Wow.
So he could have become a school dropout and maybe become another security guard. But now he became a software engineer. So like this, there have been, recently I came across one girl, similar, very poor situation. And she's now working in London. And, like this, there have been feeding children in a school is transformative. That's the kind of a transformative impact it creates. And as a result of that education, the entire family comes out of poverty. These are very strong reasons that we should have this kind of a program.
And the Akshaya Patra Foundation is also quite well known for the financial compliances. The ICAI award also been given to the Akshaya Patra consequently for the 5 times we won that award.
Yeah.
So how do we maintain such high standards?
Yeah. Even for that, there is one instruction of Srila Prabhupada.
Even for this?
That also.
Wow.
This became the basis actually. Prabhupada said, money collected for feeding should be used only for feeding. Not a farthing of the money that was collected for feeding should be used for anything other than feed. This is a kind of a financial discipline that Prabhupada wanted us to have, because someone is giving money for feeding a child. You should not even use it for the temple. You see, it should go for feeding a child. This was the kind of an instruction that Prabhupada had given in some other context in 1976 or 77. And that quote we were aware of. And so we said that we will be very strict and the money used When people give for feeding, we will use it. And one more important thing I must mention, you did not bring it up. For Akshaya Patra to scale up, one important support we got was a change in the Government of India policy, where they had, when they instituted the cooked meal program, they said if there is an NGO, we can take the services of the NGO and we can make that money that we are planning to spend, give it to the NGO. So this support from the government really helped us to scale up the program. So we were able to, on our own, we were raising money. It was a challenge. But when we got the support from the government.
This policy change was made in 2001?
You see, in the year 2001, one change happened. The government was setting aside 3 kg of rice or wheat per child for a month. We started getting that. In the year 2003 or 4, the next change happened. Not only the grains, but also the conversion cost will be made available to the NGO. So that second change gave us some money also.
Grain subsidy and cash subsidy.
Grain subsidy and cash subsidy. And that is what enabled, and even today, our running cost, if you take the grains and the cash subsidy we get about 60% of the running cost from the government. So we only have to add another 40% to make it a full meal. So this is the way Akshaya Patra is running. It's a public-private partnership. In fact, I think this is one of the most celebrated public-private partnership in the country for social development.
Why do we call it so celebrated?
You know, it's not so easy for NGOs to work with the government and for the government to work with the NGO. A lot of complications in it. Another thing is that the government expects, government can do everything on a big scale. You see, that's the power of government is very, very powerful. It has money, it has resources, it has got ability to reach out. Government runs so many schools and so many children are coming there, we can feed there.
As you said yesterday, we celebrated 4th billion. In Government of India in 10 days feeds 10 billion.
Yeah. So the government has that might to be able to do things on a big scale. And so usually NGOs are small, they do small things. And Akshaya Patra, had, because of Prabhupada's inspiration, we wanted to do things on a big scale. And when the government said, are you ready to do? Yes, we are ready to do. Give us this one, give us, we will do more. And we started doing this. And so the government welcomed us. And that is why I said this is a very, very celebrated, large-scale, public-private partnership for social development. Because for-profit activities,
anyways,
there are, like building a big road and bridge and all those kind of things. Public-private partnership models exist. But for social development, for feeding children in a school, this is one of the outstanding examples.
What's the role of the private players here in this partnership? The MNCs.
Okay. Now you see, like I was mentioning to you, 60% of the running cost comes from the government. We still have to raise 40%. Then we went to the donors, both affluent donors, HNI, high net worth individual donors. We went to business houses. That was another very interesting thing happened. Again, I'm telling you, it's all, universal forces, Lord's forces coming into play. The Government of India introduced a CSR program, corporate social responsibility, where any business house doing a certain amount of profit should set aside 2% of their profits. And that was another big boon for Akshaya Patra. We were able to get that support. Many, many private businesses, public sector enterprises, PSUs, all of them started supporting us. That was another. You see, like this, if you see the journey of Akshaya Patra, there have been very significant epochal interventions which were not done by us. We could not do this.
We just had the intention to
just feed. We were just having that intention according to Prabhupada's direction. And I think big divine universal forces were operating and pushing us to do things that way.
And many of corporate people are shocked that you don't have a big corpus to run such a mammoth program, how do you actually manage to so without the funds in the corpus account?
That's another miracle that we are seeing unfolding in front of us day after day, last 24 years. We don't have a corpus. It's a hand-to-mouth existence for us. And every day we need certain number of crores of rupees, and we don't have any big reserve sitting in the bank. We raise money, we spend money, we feed children. That's why we say Akshaya Patra is not just about cooking food, transporting food, and feeding children. It is cooking food, transporting food, feeding children, and continuously raise money.
It's an ongoing process.
It's an ongoing process.
Not even a single day we fail to feed the child.
Krishna's mercy. I'll tell you another story. How to do this. So initially, our devotees would go around, raise money in Bangalore. We were able to do it to a certain extent. We did this maybe for about first 10 years. 7 years, 8 years, 10 years we were doing. And at that time, another very good gentleman, very well-meaning supporter of our temple, he came and gave us an idea. You see, he said, Swamiji, to raise money for temple, only you can do. But for raising money for feeding a child, you can have a professional team.
You can have a marketing team.
You can have a marketing team. Then we discussed that in our board. And the board said, nothing doing. You know, these professionals will come, you have to pay them a lot of money. There are so many NGOs. They say, we collect 100 rupees, 70 rupees is our expenditure, 30 rupees goes for feeding or whatever those.
70% goes for the administrative cost.
For administrative, marketing, fundraising. We will become like that once more. So we shall not encourage this. So at that time, Madhu Pandit Prabhu gave a very smart solution. He said, he told the trustees, okay, we will set up a small professional pilot fundraising team, and Akshaya Patra need not spend. Temple will contribute for that. We will run it for 1 or 2 years and let's see how it performs. They said, okay, if Akshaya Patra does not have to spend money from your temple you're spending, you can spend, they allowed us to do. We started that, and at that time we had, I think, 2 or 3 people. Today we have about 80 people, a very robust fundraising team, and they are doing extremely well all over the country.
Oh, thanks to the online boom.
And then there was the online. That was another thing. Never thought of an online last 10 years, 8 years or so. And we are able to reach out people. And in the last 4 or 5 years, digital payments, all these things became a lot more easier, which enabled further to increase fundraising online. So like this, if I look back and see, people say, oh, you have done very good. You people, you have all done very well. Actually, we deserve no credit. We were just there. And
is that your humility or actually you feel so?
No, I don't think I'm not at all humble. I'm not humility. There's nothing to do with humility. This is bare fact. This is what has happened
you've
actually.
Seen that happening. That's why you're telling this.
Time and again and again. Witnessed it very clearly unfolding in the last 24 years. One thing or another thing, just coming forth and making it happen.
Another thing, during the COVID time when the school feeding stopped, we had been engaged by the government for other feeding. Can you share some numbers and the activities done by the Akshaya Patra and our temples for the public at large during the times of the COVID?
So yes, when the COVID, the pandemic set in our country, schools were all closed. And then it was not safe for people to come and cook and what to do. So at that time, a certain idea somehow, very serendipitously, something came, some input came. So we started making a dry ration kit. We put in a carton. If I remember right, you see the Prime Minister announced that for 21 days there will be a lockdown. So we thought, let's make a box of groceries, essential groceries, for 21 days for 5 people. We put all of that together, and then we started reaching out. Even at that time, the corporates came forward to support us. We said that this is what we were doing. And all over the country, there were big marriage halls and such places everywhere in the country, in all cities. We took 2-3 of them. And we would get volunteers and our Akshaya Patra employees to make these boxes, cartons ready. And then we would have trucks taking them out and distributing in different places. At that time, we had about 60 kitchens. We were distributing in about 85 places in the country. Even places where we did not have our kitchen, we would go there and distribute this one. So in Bangalore, we had a very big event hall. Trucks would drive into the hall, unload. On the other side, trucks would get loaded with cartons, leaving that. It was on such a big scale. And we did this all over the country. And people were very appreciative.
Even you provided cooked meals also at certain locations when the government demanded.
I would think about, all the essential police. They didn't have a restaurant to go and eat. The police, the doctors, the nurses, the paramedics, we would have cooked meals serving them. So it was another kind of an activity at that time. For those few months, it went on. And that was another, because all the volunteer force was there, the devotees were there, our staff were there, and they all took risk. And I think I must remember them. About 4 of them they lost their lives, being involved in the relief work. In Jagannath Puri, we had one very, very strong manager, and we lost him, unfortunately.
Apart from COVID, even when there is a natural disaster, whether it's floods, earthquakes, Akshaya Patra was always on the forefront, whether it is Nepal or other parts of the country.
Yeah. So this is another thing. Because we have a big kitchen, there is a National Disaster Relief Commission, something like that is there in the government of India. So we are empaneled by them. So they know that we have 72 kitchens in these locations. If there is any accident, any disaster anywhere, they can reach out to us. So sometimes big train accidents happen. And just 5-6 kilometers we had a kitchen. So we would serve there. So floods and sometimes fire accidents in Bangalore, there have been floods because of heavy rain. We would go and we would be serving for some number of days, 10 days, 5 days.
Even the Kerala state where we are not present when the flood
happened. We went to Kerala. We set up in 3 or 4 places, set up kitchens. We carried all the kitchen equipment there. And in 2 days or so, we started serving. So this is another thing that Akshaya Patra
Nepal
has
earthquake also.
Nepal, there was an earthquake. And so we went and in about 20 days, we took trucks. Most of the time was spent in getting permissions. Both from Government of India and Government of Nepal, for the trucks to move from one country to the other country, cross the border. But otherwise,
you would have set up in 2 days.
We could have set it up. Once we reached there in 2-3 days, we were up and operational. And we did that for another 3 months or 4 months. And we have now, not only in India, we have a kitchen in London.
London.
Yes.
Why London requires Akshaya Patra kitchen?
You see, there is a need there. There is something known as holiday hunger. Children have a meal program, in school meal program when they are in the schools. When they get holidays for about 45 days, 60 days in a year, they don't get food.
This is about London.
In London,
they don't get food.
They don't get food, and there are boroughs in London where the boroughs invited us. We will pay you. Can you please address? They call it the holiday hunger. So even now we are feeding. We have a kitchen which can make about 5,000 meals per day, and we serve about during holiday times. We have our kitchen is fully operational. Now we are doing one more program in London, outskirts of London in some areas. This is called homework, food and homework program. So they stay up after the school hours and we give them some food, and then they also do some homework and such things, because they come from such families where there is no such support, parental support for doing homework and such things. So even in a place like United Kingdom, these kind of things exist and there is a need.
Are we invited from any other country to start up Akshaya Patra?
In fact, after the United Nations program, there was a lot of interaction. Now we are in serious discussions with Nepal, Sri Lanka, Indonesia, and Kenya. These are the 4 places where likely to, let's see how things go on. There is a lot of diplomatic, bureaucratic, all those kind of approvals. So many things are required, and funds, because we cannot take funds from India out of the country for those programs. So we have to find a funding agency. So we are trying to tie up all these things, and something will happen soon.
Can you share why we are not in all the states in the country?
What is happening?
You see now, because as I said, it's a public-private partnership, there has to be a certain amount of pull from the government. We go where the government invites us. If the government is not inviting us and we force ourselves there, to get that support from the government, the missionary, it becomes a challenge. We don't want to engage in certain kind of practices. We want to be very clean and ethical on all these matters. And so unless the government and somebody very senior, like the chief minister, invites us, it may appear like I'm speaking very arrogantly, but that it's not arrogance. It is the chief minister, as somebody at that level, has to invite us. Then we go and set up. Because then the whole government missionary gets the message, the chief minister is interested in the program. We have to support them. We can't do other kinds of things. So because we will go to the chief minister. So that is very essential. So that is why wherever chief ministers have invited us, and maybe a few other considerations, we have gone there, and some places we have not been invited.
And for the audience, those who are watching this, who might be inspired to contribute financially or land-wise, if you have to tell them, to the audience, what is a, broadly speaking, support you need from them to start an Akshaya Patra kitchen anywhere in India, in case with the capex and the revex, if they want to, broadly speaking. Can you share some numbers so that the people who would be interested by watching this podcast can also contact us for the same?
Sure. One support they can give is to donate a piece of land where we can set up a kitchen.
What would be the minimum requirement of the land?
Nowadays, earlier we used to do mega kitchens where we could feed 1 lakh children. Now the recent model is we do a kitchen which is 30,000 children.
Smaller one.
Relatively smaller one. So 30,000 will require about 1 to 1.5 acres of land. 1 acre is also good enough. And because we have kitchen, we have storage, and we have a lot of vehicles that have to be parked also. And there is servicing, maintenance, and extra vehicles, and staff quarters, essential staff quarters, all these kind of things. So we will need about 1 to 1.5 acres of land. And for feeding children, to feed, it costs 2,100 rupees over and above what the government gives us to feed a child for 1 full year.
So I say 250 to 260 working days of the school.
250 working days. So to feed the child. Then, of course, for setting up of the kitchen, a kitchen to feed about 30,000 children requires 18 crores of rupees. So people can contribute smaller numbers, like say they can contribute for a vehicle. 1 vehicle will be about 8 lakh rupees. The vehicle comes with stainless steel racks and vessels, 1 set of vessels, all these kind of things. People can contribute. Many of our kitchens, we are now going green. We need solar panels. So there is an expenditure connected with the solar panels. And solar panels can all come under CSR donations, because for green initiatives, government encourages. So there is another possibility there. Or for those vessels which go to carry the food, insulated vessels to keep the food warm. So vessels can be donated. Or sometimes a cauldron can be donated, because many of our kitchens are aging now. We are 24 years old. And equipment cannot last for 24 years. We want to replace them. We want to get new ones, new models. So there is opportunity for replacing. So all of these opportunities exist, and our website lists all of these kind of how people can contribute. Another thing that devotee people can do is they can contribute by giving their time. We also have a lot of volunteering opportunities. Many students, many young professionals from IT companies, they come and we have a plan. They can cut vegetables.
They can do internships.
They can do internship. They can wash rice, dal, and do those kind of things all in big quantity. And they can do some kind of a study, intervention, surveys. And we also have another program called the Last Mile program, where after we deliver the food to the school, how to inspire, there are staff there, and how to inspire the children. You see, in the house, the mother is always constantly behind the child. Eat this, don't waste this, because we put a lot of vegetables, and children, very playful. They keep all the vegetables,
right.
something else, and they want to eat something else. So to inspire the children, don't waste the vegetable. We do another thing called the waste bin survey. After the food is served in the school, our team goes there and we set up waste bins. We want to go and see what is in the waste bin, just to make sure.
To that extent, we work and go to the dustbin.
We
to
go
find
to the
out
waste bin and see
or not.
how did the children respond to this. If we have served 100 grams to a child and the child has dropped 30 grams in the waste bin, something is wrong. We have to work on it. So like this, we are very meticulous. We have nutritionists. Many of our kitchens have a food lab where constantly we are trying different recipes and how to make it interesting. We also are trying out millets, because millets are good for the earth. Millets are good for the farmers and good for the digestion, also for health also. So we are trying different millets and how to make millet-based preparations very exciting for children. So like this, innovation, constant improvement, and all these are part of the culture of Akshaya Patra, because we want to keep doing this better.
And it's one of the best workplace also to work with.
Yes, we have got awards as a best workplace. So financially, workplace, HR practices, innovation, food quality, food hygiene, food safety, all of these are important issues for us. Energy efficiency, and all of these we are constantly working on. In other words, Akshaya Patra, it's like a big manufacturing plant. And there is technology, there is HR, there is finance, there is innovation and IT. So it's a great opportunity, all for serving children of our country.
And you're also starting a breakfast program in the schools. What is that about?
Yes.
Why is this breakfast? It was a midday meal program. Does the government support this, or is it a self-driven motive to feed the kids for the breakfast also?
You see, there are a lot of studies, and we have also done some pilot and experimented, and we have seen that breakfast is a very important meal in anybody's day, the daily nutritional requirements, because the first half of the day, children are spending in the school, and if they are hungry, and if the parents have not fed them, what is their receptivity for their learning? Another thing, when we did these pilot runs of this breakfast program, the school starts at 9 o'clock. These children in government schools, their parents are like that. Like our school, our parents mother would be working very hard, packing our tiffin, helping us with the books in the bag. The school bus comes, we go there, 9 o'clock, 8:45, 8:50, we are in the school.
We are privileged ones in that sense.
Yeah, in the government schools, if you say 9 o'clock, children will come from 8:50 to 9:45. They'll be trickling in. So the first hour of class is going on, but children are not there. This is reality. When we started the breakfast program and we said that 8:45 we will serve the breakfast, and 8:45 to 8:55, in 10 minutes we have to finish. That's the plan. We would have 100% attendance at 8:45 because they're getting a breakfast.
They just come for the food and somehow they get educated.
Yeah. So it disciplines them, it energizes them, it provides nutrition. It helps in so many ways.
Are we starting in Jammu and Kashmir?
Oh, yes. We are starting one kitchen in Jammu, and things are in motion already. Maybe in about 9 to 12 months, we will have a kitchen up and running in Jammu.
Such a wonderful work, lot of hard work, lot of empathy and love for doing much for the society, especially the underprivileged kids of our country. But there are a lot of people who were not happy with that. They accused us as rice thieves, akkikalru in other words. What was the controversy all about it, and how did we overcome that challenge where the big politician is against a small NGO working for the welfare of the society? Can you share a few insights?
You see, as I was telling earlier, India is a very big country, and complex government systems operate, local leaders, and some challenges will come. But we are undaunted. We are not disturbed by that. Finally, when you see the smile on the face of a child, that inspires us most, and it simply doesn't bother us. People, parties, politicians, sometimes, but by and large,
Generally, they are very
although
helpful.
you cited a few examples, in fact, all those politicians, they were misinformed. Now they're all our ardent supporters.
Wow.
So, it is just a matter of some misinformation goes to them. Somebody feeds some incorrect information, and in the heat of things, they respond in a certain way. In last 24 years, we have worked with various parties in state government and central government, different kinds of politics and hues of political parties. But one thing, all politicians at the end of the day, they want to do good to the country. There is genuine goodness in the heart of everybody. I think we have to tap into that. If you look at other things, then it's a negative perspective. We want to keep focused on the goodness of every human being and appeal to that goodness and tell them that this is something so important for the future of our country, for the children of our country, and they respond. So, although we have had here and there some troubles and difficulties, challenges, but we have learned how to navigate through those things and go on with our mission.
Another most important controversy which Akshaya Patra generally faces is about the food what we supply is relatively, quote unquote, Brahminical. You don't use onion garlic, which is actually tasting better than the other one. So the kids are fed pale, tasteless meal. What's your thoughts on that and counter argument against this?
Yeah, there was one meeting with the government officials in one of the places in our country, and the minister asked, Swamiji, I've heard that your food is not tasty and it is bland and those kind of things. So we told him, sir, we will do like this. There were some 5-6 people sitting. The next 15 days, we will send a carrier from Akshaya Patra. You please taste yourself. If you are happy, you allow us to feed. If you are not happy, we will withdraw.
Wow.
So we said like that, and we served. And after 20 days, he said, no, please continue. So it is not true that the food is not tasty. These are just, some vested interests in the society. They are working and they try to create these kind of things. But it is a fact that it is indeed, we take great care to see that children every day. It is a delightful experience of having the meal. So that's one of our strong intentions, stated intentions.
Another controversial accusation against the Akshaya Patra Foundation is that you organize celebrities to perform the gala mat and then you raise donation. Is it necessarily required to do those? Will Swami Prabhupada be happy with such uh, interactions with the celebrities and pomp and glamour with which you organize those fundraising events?
Srila Prabhupada interacted with a lot of celebrities. George Harrison was the biggest celebrity. Prabhupada was happy to interact with him. And George Harrison made one of the Hare Krishna records, which became so popular. It became it stayed number one for many months and made Hare Krishna mantra well known. So we have no hesitation. Why? Celebrities, we should not engage them in serving children, serving Krishna. So we should be very open. And we are ready to work with celebrities, politicians, bureaucrats, rich men, everybody, poor men, everyone who can help serve children, serve Krishna. Why not? So we have no hesitation about it.
So thank you so much, His Grace Chanchalapathi Prabhu, for gracing this occasion, clarifying all the aspirations of Akshaya Patra, challenges of Akshaya Patra, and the doubts which people in generally devotees otherwise have. Thank you so much for being here. Hare Krishna.
Most welcome. Hare Krishna. It was such a pleasure to talk and share all these things. Namaste.